Hello, so welcome to modeling learning assignment number 5. In this modeling learning assignment we are going to be discussing blocks and polylines while putting together a simple floor plan for like a first floor of a building. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Got my AutoCAD drawing open. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what kind of scale I'm going to use. I am very used to using 1 inch is equal to 1 unit, and the whole reason for that is because if I go into my annotate tab and look at dimension styles real quick, I'll create a brand new one, hit OK. It'll pop in. Go to my primary units. You can actually use architectural, which what this is it's feet dash inches. So here you've got your feet dash inches, and you can set your precision down to 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, all of that. So I like drawing in inch units because for me, then you can use the architectural units since it works really well. Not everybody likes to use architectural units though, so it is what it is. So I'm going to draw in inches this time, and that means I need to pop up a calculator real quick. Yes, I'm looking for C's. Alright, so I'm going to get my on-screen calculator over here ready to go, because we're going to need to use it to figure out some room size. So let's say we've got a 12-foot by 20-foot room, and we can do whatever we want with it. 12 foot means 12 times 12, 144. 20 foot, 20 times 12, so it's 240. So it'll be 144 by 240. So we'll start with a rec. For rectangle, I'm going to do 0, 0. That's how to specify that I want to draw at the origin. Like I've said, I like drawing at the origin so that I always know where my drawing is supposed to be. And then I will draw a distance of, here you'll notice that this top line up here is selected. I can't put my cursor over it. And this area over here is not selected. We can actually hit tab to go between the two, or you can hit a comma. It always starts with length first and then does height. So here I want to do, we're doing a 20 foot by 12 foot room. If I type those in, you'll notice it's a lot bigger. So I can use my middle of my mouse wheel, scroll out, and these are going to be my room dimensions. Now, as you'll notice, this is all 1 unit because this is it's a box. This is technically called a polyline. Anytime you do any kind of rectangle or polygon, it's always going to insert it as a polyline. The command for that is pline, and pedit. That's how you edit polylines. Pline is how you create a polyline. You just want a line to be whatever. Otherwise, you can join, add to this. It's already considered a polyline, so I can do a lot of things with it. I'm going to go ahead and escape and get out of pedit. Alright, so I got my room layout. My next step here is I am going to need to put a door somewhere. Well, I'm going to have a couple of doors here. And what I want to do is, rather than just, you can do a copy paste here, but another nice feature about AutoCAD is you can actually create a document with a bunch of blocks in them. So let's say you're an architectural firm or you're in a design firm, and you have to do a lot with a very certain size of chair. What you can do is you can draw this chair in, let's say I'm going to draw an overhead view of a chair. Okay, it'll look something like this. I'll put some armrests on it. Something like that. Actually, I'm going to delete this and mirror it over. Mirror, select objects, Select mirror line, I'll pick the midpoint here and drag straight up, hit enter, don't delete it, and then I will just turn this into a rectangle back here. Actually, no, I'm just going to close it up there. Let's see, I want this to actually be an arc. So we'll do an arc. Something like that. Okay, it's kind of a weird looking chair, but you know what? That works. That's my recliner. Now let's say I have this recliner and I like it. That's a big recliner. I want to reuse this, not just in this drawing, but in other drawings too. What you can do to kind of export things out of it, yeah, you can control copy, paste with base place. Yeah, you can do that. But another nice thing is, let's say I don't really want to change the appearance of this chair, and I never do. I want the dimensions to all stay the same. I want it to be this. What I can do is I can actually create a block. So here on the Home tab, I can create a block. I have to give this a name, so I'll just give it a name of recliner. It usually wants to have a base point. So I will pick a base point quickly, and I'm going to say every time I put it in, I would like to be putting it in from that port right there. I've already got the object selected. I want it to convert into a block. If I select it, I could also hit delete. Allow exploding. If I don't allow exploding, then it can't ever be broken apart. But if I type explode, it'll break into the individual lines. Scale uniformly. It just basically means, do you want it to be scaled at an angle? I'm just going to hit OK. So there we go. We now have this block. Okay. So the nice thing is that, yeah, you can go, if I click on this, I can go to my block editor. You'll see that I have the block of the recliner that is selected in here. I can hit OK. It'll allow me to actually go in and do a bunch of really interesting things that are pretty normal to set up this block and do some changes to the block. I do not want to do this, but this is one of the advanced features. You can do a lot of things. You can actually have formulas, create some properties for this. There's a lot of, like here you've got some constraints you can do. This is a lot like, we'll be getting into SolidWorks, these constraints or something. It's actually in, I think, the parametric tab. You have some constraints like that. But this is one of the things that AutoCAD allows you to do with editing blocks. I'm just going to leave this block as is. But now, if I go into Insert, I go into my recent blocks, my favorite blocks. I can create libraries of blocks. Here I've already got it put in. I can just put in another recliner. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of recliners over here. Just like that. Okay. The nice thing is too is that there are libraries of blocks that AutoCAD has. I don't exactly know where they are, but there are libraries. And they usually come pretty standard into AutoCAD. It's loaded into your computer. You'd have to find where it's at. I don't really want to do that right now. But there can be blocks from anything from doorways to tables to toilets. To signs and a whole lot of things. You can import blocks from other drawings. So if you download a drawing that has blocks, you can import the blocks from that drawing and insert it into your drawing. It does save a lot of time, especially when you have really complex features that you're putting in. If you're working with vendors, you may also find that vendors will send you drawing files that have blocks in them. So let's say you're designing a brand new studio space. Well, some of those blocks can even be in 3D. So that when you put them in, you could actually scale the view and see what the view looks like from the inside of the room with a 3D block. So yeah, not just for two-dimensional objects, it's also for three-dimensional objects. I will go ahead and warn you, three-dimensional AutoCAD is awful. There's a reason why we don't even teach that in this class. It's not very industry standard. Almost nobody does it. The only place where I've ever seen it get done is actually in an academic setting. And I don't know why those teachers hate their students so much, but that's the only place I've seen it done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a couple other blocks. Here, let's create a lamp. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a very simple lamp. This lamp is just going to be a couple of circles, and then so here, like kind of like looking like a lampshade there. Object snap is failing me. There we go. So I got my two circles. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to include a line. So I will select the center of the circle, and I'm going to go straight up. Okay, and then for this line, what I'll do is I will go ahead and create a polar array. Because I want to do it 3 times around, and I don't really want to rotate them. I'll have the center point be here. I want my items, I enter, to be 3, enter. And then I hit enter just to select my point. So there's kind of a lamp looking thing. Kind of looks like a Mercedes symbol or peace symbol. Bruh. But you know what? We'll call that a lamp. I'm going to go ahead and create a new block out of that. So in my block manager, I click on the block feature, block definition. I'm just going to call it lamp. Convert to block, pick a point. I want to insert this one at the center point of the lamp. Allow exploding again, convert to block. Okay. There we go. Now I have a new lamp. I'm going to put a couple of these around the room. Just so that you want some light. So I'll put one here. I'll put one over here, and you can make your blocks look interesting. For this assignment, just make them look like lamps, something like that. I'll put a couple in my corners over there. And there we go. All right, so now I've got my lamps, I got my chairs. That's the basic of working with blocks. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go too terribly in depth as far as block editing, but I do want you to be aware of them. Now the last thing that we're going to be talking about is polylines. We've discussed polylines in an earlier video. We're kind of going to be getting back into that for a second, just so that you're a little bit more aware of how to use polylines. So let's say I'm working on a table, and I just write table. You can tell I'm tired. I'm going to create one, and this table is going to be a little different than my other tables. So here you can do this to dimension. I'm just doing this for numbers because I don't really care about dimensions at this point. I'm going to give this a curve front. Okay, and now let's say I have some very interesting bevel shapes that go into the circle. I need to offset this shape. If I just simply offset the whole thing, offset, and make that distance be, I don't know, maybe 2. The issue that you're going to run into is that this is not pretty. Okay, so you'd have to go in and trim every one of those corners or extend, depending on how it is. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit U, enter. I'm going to undo that. And instead, I'm just going to do P edit, which is polyline edit. And asking me to select a polyline, I click on a line. I convert this into a polyline. And now here are all of my polyline options. I can close. Basically what that means is if you have a polyline that's just 3 lines, I can show you that one. We'll do that in a second. Join is adding segments to a polyline. You basically have to select ones that are touching it or that have the same vertices. Width, you have your edit vertex, which means you can actually change the location of vertices inside of your polyline. Your fit, you can change it to a spline. Those are all of the different features. Here we're just going to be doing a join. So it'll ask me select objects. What I'm going to do is select all of my objects. Now I have to make sure that that original line that I converted into a polyline is selected as well. And then I hit enter. It'll say 3 segments added to polyline, and then I can hit escape and exit out. So now that it's like this, now when I go to offset by 2, it will offset the whole shape. So polylines can be really useful to use. They can save you a lot of time, especially when you're working with more complex shapes. Might be a good suggestion for you. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more in this. And then I'll convert this into a block so that I can have a couple of tables in here. Okay, so I just gave it some beveled corners like that. Now I'm going to draw my line. I'm just going to draw an interesting shape up here. And my reason for doing that is, once again, I'm going to go into P-Edit, click on a line. Doesn't want me to turn it into one. I'll hit yes. I will hit start with join. Select these 3 lines, hit enter. It'll say 2 segments added. And then I want to close this. And you'll notice that when I hit close, it just automatically closes it to form a closed shape. Then I can hit escape. Now I have this weird closed shape in here. And it is a polyline. So now I can take this weird shape that I just created, and I can offset it again. And again, it will offset fairly nicely. So we'll keep it at 2. I'll pick the enter. So let's say this is a very interesting shape table with a hole cut out of it. I'll go ahead and convert this into a block. I did not select my object before clicking on the block, so I'm going to need to go in and select objects. Hit enter. I'll need to name it end table. I'm going to need to pick a point where I want to specify where it's being added. I'll do that on the bottom. Just kind of preference as to where you add it. I want it to be converted into a block, allow for exploding. You can give a little bit of details there. But now I can go over here and I can insert my end table. We need to rotate this one around. So one thing you'll notice is that when I go to click it, it has exactly 1 point that I can select. This is your moving point. I am not able to change any of the other vertices. If I try to delete one piece of this, the whole thing gets deleted. You enter. This whole thing acts as if it's a rigid object. So I can select it. I'm going to hit RO for rotate. I'm going to click on a corner here. I'm going to just rotate this whole thing 180 degrees because it's got to sit on my back wall. Okay. We'll just drag it up to the back wall. Okay, and then I'll put another one of these tables over here. So I will insert end table, put it down, select it, RO for rotate, or you could go up here to the rotate function. I just kind of an old school AutoCAD person. I'll rotate it up 90 degrees, and then I will take this and I will push it back against this wall. So there we go. Couple recliners, couple lamps, couple tables. Very boring room. So go to my layout one. I'm losing it. I got to do it the way that I've showed you how to do it this whole semester. Go into Dome Classes, EGR 210, Dome CAD. Select my ENG sheet. In the future, I might have different sheets, but I haven't set those up yet. Here's my engineering sheet. Looks pretty nice. Go to my layout tab up here and add a rectangular tool. Now, as we put this in, we're going to be drawing this to scale. So as it is right now, when you draw this on your page, if I were to try to figure out what scale this is, historically what's had to have been done is you try to dimension as much as you can. Because the more dimensions you have, the easier it is for things to be read. So I would dimension what is the size of this recliner, what is the width, what are each of these component sizes, how deep is it, how long is it, what position is it in the room, what orientation is it in the room. You have to dimension every single one of those aspects. That's very cumbersome. In today's world, what we do is we actually, first of all, it's not uncommon for people to send an AutoCAD file that may only contain this piece right here. Even if it's part of a bigger drawing, it would only contain this piece. They would send it to somebody so that they can take the dimensions themselves. You just go in there and you measure it in AutoCAD. It's pretty simple. There are other drawing evaluator programs like eDrawings that can read drawing files and determine distances from them as well. So something like that is useful. But historically what's been done is you draw it to scale. And this is not something that we've gone away from. This is considered to be a professional part of how to do an AutoCAD drawing. We're going to be adding a scale to this. So the first thing we need to figure out is, I've got this up, I've got my calculator up. I would like this 20 by 12 room to take up only about 4 inches wide on this page. Okay, this page here is an 11 inch long page. It's got ½ inch margins, quarter inch there, quarter inch there, quarter inch there, quarter inch there. So it's really only a 10-inch page. If I have 4 of those 10 inches covered by this, that would be nice. I could go, I guess, with 6. 6 would be workable. So the question is, I want 6 inches to be represented by, don't do that to me. Stop it. Model. I want 6 inches to be represented by what is 20 feet. Okay, so 20 times 12 is equal to 240. So that is the number of units that my viewport is seeing. What I want it to represent is I want it to represent 6. So here, I'm going to divide this by 6. So here, what you'll have is that 1 unit on the paper space is equal to 40 units in the model space. Okay, so we're going to flip that around. 1 divided by 40. 1 divided by 40. So when you do that, now this many units in the model space is equal to 1 unit. No, this many units in paper space is equal to 1 unit in the model space. Okay, so we need this value when we go in here and zoom. So I'm going to go in and hit ZOOM, or just type Z for zoom, hit enter. And then what I'm going to type is I'm going to type my scale factor here. The scale factor is 0.025. I will type that and then I will follow it up with XP. So this will be 0.025 XP. When I type that in, you'll notice that everything changes a little bit. I can pan in this view, but it's already set to scale. I'm going to double click out of here. Now, when I go to dimension this dimension here comes in as 20 feet. Okay, so notice I'm back in paper space again. From paper space, I can dimension it. It comes in as 20 feet. If I were to draw that exact same line in my paper space, this same line shows up as being 6 inches. So that was what I wanted. I wanted it to be 6 inches wide, cover most of this 10-inch page, but not the entirety of it. Now what we'll have to do when we specify our scale is this scale is not 1:1. This scale now is set as 1 inch in paper space is the equivalent of 40 inches in model space. Okay, and we'll need to specify that 1 to 40 is not a very common scale. It just happens to be the one we picked. So we'll go ahead and fill out the rest of this title block while we're here. So I'm going to name this MLA 4. I think this is MLA 4. I don't actually know anymore. Well, whatever the drawing is, I'll fix it later before I upload it. I'll change these initials. The initials will say CJS. Page number here once again. This is 1 of 1. Hit apply. Hit OK. Shows up right here. I'll throw. Usually when you do something like this, you want your big dimensions. Big dimensions show up a lot easier. You'll notice that this is saying feet and feet, even though this has a total length of 240 and this one has a total length of 144. Because I'm using my copy of standard, which here this one used the architectural units, it's automatically going to give me feet inches. So that's kind of useful. That's why I drew this in inches. I'll go ahead and escape. Now I'm going to draw a leader. A leader is a way of creating a note attached to an arrow. So I'm going to create a leader real quick and just leave the standard leadered style there. You can edit the leader by clicking on that arrow there, but I'm just going to go ahead and type in a description here. This is a recliner from IKEA. Okay, and you could give a product number there. That would probably be useful. So somebody could go into the IKEA catalog and identify which recliner it is exactly. And you'll want to do that for these two. As we'll see in SolidWorks, it's not uncommon to give these part numbers. And then from those part numbers, have a bill of materials. We'll say that this is a lamp from Nebraska Furniture Mart. I'll go ahead and put that on 2 lines. And then click out of it or hit escape. Save. And it'll save that. Oh, that was a little bit too big. So I might need to grab this, drag it, move it over. There we go. And then we'll finish with a multi-leader that points to this. Now, because everything is identical, it's really easy to kind of put some dimensions in. We'll say that this is a custom end table. So somebody actually built this one. Okay, so I have my 3 pieces of furniture. I have my room. I have absolutely no doors or windows to get into or out of. I have it properly sited. That is the end of this assignment. So I will go ahead, right click down here, go to plot, and send this to AutoCAD PDF. Hit OK. I'm going to want to save this into my folder. Oh, this is MLA 5. I'll just delete. I'm already there. I might as well finish. I'm going to edit this to say 5 now. Thank you. Ah! MLA 5. Okay. Now we'll do that again. Plot. And since I saved it here, it kept where I was at. That was why I did that. And there we go. So your assignment is to hand in that PDF I just showed you how to make. And that's